Hey everybody, welcome back to Follow Me 11B. Discussions on current events, macroeconomics, and freedom and liberty from a veteran's perspective. Today, I would like to do something a little bit differently though. In light of the Halloween holiday, I have decorated the studio, and today I am going to review the latest installment of one of my favorite all-time movie franchises as a big horror and sci-fi movie geek. Halloween. And the latest installment, Halloween Ends. And before I get into all that, though, let us go straight to a news article from ABC News from today, October 16, 2022, entitled, Halloween Ends, Wins Box Office But Renews Streaming Debate. No matter how you look at the numbers, Halloween Ends had a good opening weekend. Touted as the final showdown between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, the slasher pick earned $41.3 million in ticket sales from 3,901 theaters in North America, according to studio estimates Sunday. It's the first film to open higher than $40 million since Nope debuted in July and surpassed its production budget, which has been reported to be between $20 and $30 million. Including international showings, it boasts a global total of $58.4 million. Here's a quote. "We are extraordinarily excited that Blumhouse once again delivered an incredible film and another number one opening," said Jim Orr, Universal's head of domestic distribution. Jamie Lee Curtis had audiences across North America engaged and terrified. More on that later. Getting back to the article, though. The film also renewed an evergreen debate about day and date movie releases, and some in Hollywood are wondering whether it could have been even bigger if it hadn't been debuted simultaneously on Peacock, NBC Universal's streaming service. Going into the weekend, some analysts had pegged Halloween Ends for an opening in the $50 to $55 million range. Halloween Kills, the previous installment in the David Gordon Green directed Halloween trilogy, opened day and date last year and still grossed $49 million in opening weekend. Green's first Halloween, by contrast, debuted to $76.2 million in 2018, but that was pre-pandemic. Theatrical release only, and the highly anticipated revival of a beloved franchise with good reviews. His subsequent Halloween films were more divisive among critics and fans, however. Kills had a 39% Rotten Tomatoes score, while Ends had a 40% and still opened over $40 million. The day and date model was put to the test again, but I think this is a mandate in favor of the movie theater, said Paul Dergrabrian, the senior media analyst for ComScore. Just for trivia's sake, Dergrabedian. Try to pronounce that. But I digress. Audiences had the option to watch it at home, but they chose to go to the theater. Many studios experimented with day and date releases during the second year of the pandemic to varying results, but 2022 has seen most returning to traditional theatrical first releases, especially for their most valuable brands and franchises. Still, it triggered a self-proclaimed rant from filmmaker Christopher Landon, who tweeted this weekend that he felt his horror film Freaky was hurt by the simultaneous release in theaters and streaming in November 2020. Stop doing this, please. It doesn't work. Studios, stop gambling with filmmakers and their movies to try to prop up your fledgling streaming services, Landon wrote on Twitter. I begged the studio not to do this. We got hosed. Though there was likely some financial impact on Halloween Ends, it's hard to glean exactly how much money was left on the table with the release. Peacock is notably smaller than many of its streaming competitors, with 13 million paid subscribers reported at the end of July. Studios also rarely release specific streaming data. Smile, meanwhile, has continued to defy horror movie odds with another strong weekend. Paramount's original thriller added $12.1 million, bringing its domestic total to $71.2 million after 3 weeks. Dergrabedian noted that it's rare to have two R-rated horror movies at the top of the box office charts. The appeal of being scared in a movie theater is time-honored. Mr. D, said, throughout the pandemic, horror movies have grossed over $1 billion, and that's just domestically. Third place for the weekend went to Sony's Lyle Lyle Crocodile, down 35% from its debut with $7.4 million, while The Woman King landed in fourth place with $3.7 million in its fifth weekend, bringing its domestic total to $59.7 million. Amsterdam rounded up the top five in weekend two with $2.9 million. In limited release, United Artists releasing Mammy da 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 da. All right, that's not really important. And let's see here. Estimated ticket sales for Friday through Sunday at U.S. and Canadian theaters, according to ComScore, final domestic figures will be released Monday. But as of right now, it's $41.3 million that we know of. So, it seems to be doing well at the box office. Now, let's get to some of the nuts and bolts of the movie. Halloween Ends, 2022, starring Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie, of course, reprising her role from the, I believe it's 1978. It's like 45 years of this franchise. Andy Matichak as Allison, her granddaughter. Rohan Campbell as Corey, the love interest, I guess you'd say, of Allison. Will Patton as Deputy Frank Hawkins, reprising his role from previous Halloweens as, I guess, Laurie's love interest. And then we've got James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers, or The Shape. Another neat little tidbit from this movie I found out while researching this was an actor named Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers early on in the in the first or the second of the franchise. Actually reprised his heavy breathing. He did a voiceover or something for this movie, and he had a cameo appearance somewhere in it. I believe he was somewhere in the original here, Halloween. But getting on with the rest of what I thought about this. Now, again, directed by, written by Danny McBride, Chris Bernier, and Paul Brad Logan, and directed by David Gordon Green. Paul Brad Logan, David Gordon Green. Why do people use three names? I don't understand that. A wise man once told me only assassins and serial killers are known by all three of their names. But back to my review. Let's see here. Music by John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter. John Carpenter, original director's son, which is kind of neat. John Carpenter wrote the original music. And Daniel Davies participated in the music and the score, etc. So that was kind of cool. Now, let's get down to the good and the bad of it. In my opinion, let's start with the good. In my opinion, the good, you get one of the coolest things about this movie for Halloween fans, young and old, is you get a rare peek behind the mask, the Shatner mask. At one point in this movie, and you get a kind of a peek at Michael Myers. You don't really get that in most of the other movies. Number two, the music and the score, like I mentioned, by John Carpenter and his son and Daniel Davies, top notch as usual. Super creepy, and if I was doing a horror movie and I wanted to score, these are the fellas that I would get to take care of that for me. Number three, the good. The story seems to have reached a conclusion. They built it as the final showdown, the final installment of the Halloween series, and I'm not exactly sure if that's true. Let me just say that they did conclude the story seemingly. Michael Myers is ended. However, you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the movie. But in the final scene of the movie, in Laurie's living room, you'll see something that kind of gives you a possibility that there might be another future movie. Not with Michael Myers, but you know what I mean when you see it. Now let's get to the bad. The bad is a longer list. So number one, approximately 60 minutes before anything of exciting nature even happens in the movie. It's all story building and plot development and da-da-da, which is not really what you're used to when you go to a Halloween movie. I mean, maybe half an hour's worth, and then you start seeing, the good stuff, if I may say so. This is at least 60 minutes, and it's really about 90 minutes until things really start getting going. And it's like an hour and 50-minute movie. So you're waiting for at least half the movie before anything kind of cool happens. Number 2 of the bad, in my opinion. There are flavors of the Friday the 13th, 1993 installment, Jason Goes to Hell. Again, don't want to give too much away, but if you see this movie, if you've seen Jason Goes to Hell, when you see this movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I never really liked that. Was one of my least favorite movies of the Friday the 13th franchise. And this is part of the reason why. Number 3, you've got all the stereotypical tropes in this movie, which is kind of not exactly very not exactly very creative by the writer and the director, in my opinion. You've got the jocks that beat up the weak kid. It's kind of flipped a little bit because the jocks are still in high school and the weak kid is a graduate who is in college or planning on going to college, etc. The jocks are, one of them's like wearing a leather jacket, and the other one's kind of like an alternative guy, and then you've got some girls and da-da-da. But that's the only thing they've really changed on that old trope. Number 4, I thought this was ridiculous. Allison, the granddaughter of Laurie Strode, seemingly falls like madly in love with Corey, like basically the minute she lays eyes on him, and within the next 20 minutes they're shacking up. It was kind of a giant plot hole, in my opinion. And finally, the way that Michael, big fight scene in the house towards the end of the movie, and the way that Laurie and her granddaughter, during the fight, at one point they get Michael Myers tied down or stuck down. He has a knife through his hand, stuck in the table. But anyway, they cut his wrists, cut his throat, and then that ends him. Which is weird because in Halloween Kills, he took a dozen rounds, if not more, from shotguns and pistols and you name it, right in the middle of a street. And he jumped right back up and he slaughtered 20 people like that. No problem. And now a simple slice of his arteries took care of him. Later on, they do something else with him that I'm not going to give away. But I thought that was probably one of the dumbest plot holes, that you can kill him so easily. But in my opinion, wrapping it up, I'm going to go with a recommend against seeing this one in the theater. If you want to take if you're tired, you want to take a good long nap for at least an hour, and you want to just catch the end of it, hey, if it's worth shelling out that ticket fee for you, have at it. But I think it's worth waiting for the DVD, the Blu-ray, or the stream. Pretty bad. That said, Halloween Kills was worse, for sure. And one of the other things I did not like about this, I should have added this to my bad list. In this whole, the last 3 Halloween movies, this Halloween Ends is the third of this little ending trilogy. I don't know if it started with the first one and the second one, but they disregarded at least the third, fourth, fifth, sixth movies. And in my opinion, the fourth, fifth, and sixth movies were the best in the franchise. So if you're looking for something to do something else. Maybe stream the fourth, fifth, and sixth Halloween movies. But I could be wrong. Please let me know what you guys thought of Halloween Ends. And in the meantime, put your comments in the comment section below. In the meantime, though, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel if you like this kind of content. And in the meantime, we are at Follow Me 11B here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Gettr. We're also at Follow Me 11B on Truth Social and The Real Follow Me on Instagram and Rumble, and we will see you all on the next video.